Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. I have found this cute little meme with Plato, Rousseau, Kant, Marx, your professors, and you all listed as marionettes, or whatever it is, puppets on a string. And you can just go look. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this. Up at the top of this meme, it says 2,000 years of collectivism. And you can label this meme how you want for people controlling other people. But this particular use of it, with Plato as the giant, controlling Rousseau, who controls Kant, who controls Marx, who controls your professors, who controls you, and you're the tiniest little insignificant mean thingy at the bottom, meme. Marionette at the bottom. So I said, this is perfect. This is an utterly perfect visual representation of the philosophy, of the event, of the facts of reality. I said, this is flawless. Now, I might change a couple things. I might make Immanuel Kant slightly deformed or retarded, like a really small head or something like that. And I might, on the one that is your professor's, I might put like a little swastika armband on him. But other than that, it's pretty good. Now, Johannan Rats comes down in the comments, and this is on a Facebook post, this isn't a YouTube video. He comes down in the comments, and Johannan Rats, if you don't know, is one of my favorite rationalists. I don't remember what exactly is so favorite about him. Maybe just that he keeps interacting with me, even though I don't know. All right. So he's the type that believes that we may very well be living in a holographic thing, or that type of stuff. Whatever. All right. So he says Kant, a kind of idealist. Now, whatever you mean by idealism, Immanuel Kant said that we can't access the true reality. In fact, we actually only deal with categories inside of our brain, and that our senses create a synthetic view of the universe, which then is given to us, and we have to deal with that. And what the actual universe out there is cut off from us through our senses. That's what Kant says. Now that destroys reality, it destroys your senses, and it destroys the mind. But just to put that in our pocket, that's what I mean when I say Immanuel Kant, okay? Alright, Johannan Rats? So he says Kant, a kind of idealist, did not lead to Marx. Alright. Karl Marx never could have done his philosophy. Maybe he could have done it with Rousseau, but I don't think so. I don't think he could have done his philosophy in a world where people said, hey, you have to check with reality. It's not about the group's view of things. The group doesn't matter. It's the individual that matters. Why are you talking about groups so much? Your theory is about all these groups doing things. You've left out the individual. What about the individual in the group? Right? He never could have made the leap to groups and group warfare. His whole philosophy is class warfare. Because in the Enlightenment, they would have said, there's no group. There are only individuals. So Marx was only able to do his stuff after Immanuel Kant had said, what do you know about reality? It's all just your emotions or somebody else's emotions. We don't know the true reality. And so if it's your emotions or somebody else's emotions, then let's all get mad about something. Like freedom. Like, why aren't we free? Why is that guy making more money than me? Why does he own the factory and not us? There's 95 of us and there's one of him. Let's just vote on it and take his factory. Now, where did the factory come from? Why does it exist to begin with? Blank out. They don't care. You see, if you had your philosophy in order, you wouldn't be able to go on a rampage as a mob saying, democracy, freedom, because you would say, wait, where did this factory come from? Well, it came from an individual who built it. Nobody else built it. Everybody else was obviously too dumb or too lazy. He's the only one who had the wherewithal to come up with the company to build this factory. So he has a right to it. Why should anybody else take it from him? In fact, we ought to all get together and chip in a little bit of money and pay for a group of thugs, professional thugs, to go around and retaliate against anybody who might threaten this guy's factory. So that's called a police force. So that is a pro-individualism. And Marx was completely against that. He said, no, screw the guy. Screw the individual and the fact he built the factory. We're a group. We can take his stuff. We'll just get together in a group. And we'll all be better off. I promise. Once we all get together in a group and take their stuff, everything will get better. I promise. Right? Now, he couldn't check it against history. If you do check it against history and say, oh, excuse me, Karl Marx, what you're talking about leads to disaster in history, he would say, no, no, no. History is actually evolving step by step. It's getting further and further. It's one thing's leading to another. Now, he wouldn't have said evolve. He was, slightly before that. But he would have said history is progressing. And it's progressing through a question, answer, question, answer. So where you say 20 years ago or 50 years ago or 200 years ago, it wouldn't work to just jump up and seize everything. Now it will. So we can dispense with reason because the world is changing. You can dispense with the world because nobody knows anything about the world. Immanuel Kant already told us that. Okay, so Karl Marx follows from Immanuel Kant because there's no other way you can dispense with the individual and the fact that the individual exists and has rights except by dispensing with reality and just making everything emotions, which is what Kant did. So then Marx comes along and it's just your group or somebody else's group, your feelings or somebody else's feelings. There's no reason, there's no logic, there's no external reality that we can reliably check on. So, Kant led to Marx. He says, Kant, a kind of idealist, did not lead to Marx, who was the original dialectic materialist. Well, dialectical materialism says reason's out the window. It's just a series of clashes. Somebody gives an answer, somebody else gives an answer, there's a clash, this is the new answer, whatever comes from the clash. Now, he couldn't look at a question-answer thing and realize what actually happens there. Now, I guess, sometimes the right side wins and sometimes the wrong side wins, and so it's not always moving forward right, so history's not a moving forward of right, therefore he couldn't find a Platonic principle that was guiding history. If sometimes the wrong side wins, then there must not be a Platonic principle guiding history, which bothered him because they all want to find some Platonic thing outside of us that can, has no effect on us and isn't related to us, that gives us all of our values or whatever. They always want to find something outside of us. He couldn't find anything to operate the contradictions that move history. His solution to that was to say there is nothing operative in these conflicts. Conflicts are the operation. They are the irreducible operation, the conflicts. And that was him just dispensing with reason, dispensing with reality, and saying that there's nothing except the current question and the current answer, or the two current questions, and they're going to clash and make an answer. And that's what history is made of, is the present clash, right? The current dialectic. And it's just, we're all just churning through a material world clashing, and there's no reason, there's no logic, there's no background reality for us to check on, there's no mind, it's all just a churning clash of materialism. So, there you go. Karl Marx said, well, the way that this clash, this churning clash of mindlessness works is, the rich people do this and the poor people do this, and then they go rah, like this, and the rich and the poor and the rich and the poor. That was his story about the churning clash of mindless beasts. Why are we mindless beasts? Well, Immanuel Kant said we're mindless beasts because we don't have any idea what's going on in reality or what reality is. We're just dealing with a film of categories. So, what else does he have to say? Where are we? 10 minutes on a one-sentence comment. Good job, Rotz. You got me riled up here. He says, likewise, Plato's and Marx's philosophies were radically different for the same reason. Well, Plato says that there's a separate thing out there, whether it's a world or thing, forms, there's something, he called it a world of forms, let's just give him his words. Plato says there's a world of forms out there that's separate from us, that we can't really know. We just have this imperfect world we're in. And Marx says that there's a real world, but your only part in it is a teeny individual in your class structure, whichever class you're in, poor or middle class or rich, and you actually really can't think for yourself. You are actually given your thoughts by your class, and your role in society is determined by what your father's wealth level was and what your wealth level is. So he dispenses with the human mind and says that there's some other reality out there that we can't reach that's more important, and he calls it class. All right? So Plato's philosophy deals with some nonsense besides the real world, and Marx's philosophy deals with some nonsense besides the real world. So they're radically different, huh? All right, there you go. Rots, there's Philosophy 101. I guess we can go from there.